We all rise to the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have one of our members who's not here, but we have 7, so we have a quorum. You all have a chance to read the minutes from the previous meeting of August 13th. If you have, I would entertain a motion to approve if you have no correction.
President, I'll make a motion that we approve the Rainbow Plan Commission minutes of August.
We have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We have no old business. Under new business, public hearing, request to rezone property 1150, 1180 Lincoln Street, R2 to R4. Lane and Comer. Laura, you got anything you want to say first?
Just want to know if you needed any clarification about this. So there was the issue with the map.
I was going to say, why don't you just, you're talking about the history of it that you broke down for us, why don't you just kind of,
You want to recap?
yeah, recap.
Thumbnail capture.
We'll try to. The best way is to refer to the two maps that are included. The one that's sort of yellowish, the 1991 map. I included that because I wanted you to see how in 91 it had actually been zoned R3, and that was on the official town map. I found in 1994 where an additional buildings, the 2-story apartments on a separate parcel were being constructed, and they were listed as R3, so that's what triggered me to go back and research the maps, try and figure out what happened. Because there was nothing in the files of any, on this property historically for any zoning changes or special uses or variances or anything. So that's the first place I go to see what the history in the past. So that's why I went back to look at this map and saw that it was zoned R3 at that time. So those additional apartments were built in 94, and then so the next map that I could find was the 96 map, and you'll see that's where it's reflected as R2.
Yeah, because I don't see R2 on this.
It doesn't say it, but the orange cross-hatching is
Yeah.
R2.
Okay, I wondered about that because.
So it's two things that are interesting there. A, it changed.
Right.
And B, they built more and it went down. Correct? Am I correct?
Well, in 94, it was still listed as R3, because that's what's on the building permit. So I honestly think that it was an error when the new map, the 96 map was made.
Not in 94 when
and
they
the
were
90
built. Not in 94 when they were built,
Correct.
in 96 when the map.
The 96 map was created. They didn't carry over the R3 for whatever reason. I mean, it was HNTB on both of them, so I don't know how they missed that, but I can find no official action from the town that would have changed that. Nor can I imagine why we would have zoned it to single family when there were multifamily units there. That doesn't make any sense at all. So I just think it was an error and an oversight, and it just got perpetuated on all the maps after that. So that was just sort of the brief history of, you know, I really think originally it was intended to be R3. And just for reference, in 91, R3 was the most dense zoning that we had. We didn't have an R4 at that time. We never had R4 until 2000. So, you know, that's just sort of the history. We kept changing the zoning ordinance over that 20-year span and ended up with the 2000 ordinance that now has an R4 that matches this zoning. That's why I'm not suggesting we go with R3. That's not got enough density to make it a conforming use. We should strive to have conforming uses when it makes sense. That's why I support the request for R4, because that matches what's on the ground. That makes the uses conforming.
R4 matches what's currently already there.
Yeah. If you go R3, then you're gonna make it non-conforming because it's too dense, however slightly. So that's sort of the history on it. I wanted you to understand that, so I wanted you to be able to reflect on that. And then also the comp plan, even though it's 1998 comp plan, still does show this area, and it lists it as multifamily. So it's not counterintuitive to what the comp plan is recommending.
Is it R4 south of Lincoln? Or has it
It's-
always been R2, but they built the higher density, the R4? I know there was an R3, but then it came back to R2.
Yes,
So-
through an error on the map.
error.
Right. But, so this was never, then, when was this zoned R4?
It never was.
Okay, so this is all R3.
It was R3 under the 1991
I got that.
ordinance.
I got that. But I
Yes.
mean, as far as the highest density, it would have been R3, would have been the
Correct.
highest density. So we really want to say, we want to go from an R3 to an R4. That was the highest density, right?
Yes, but, yeah.
Was it built to an R3 or was it built to an R4?
To the best of my understanding, it was built to an R3. The R4 didn't exist at that time.
I realize that, but the R4 has got a density of up to 10. R3 has a density up to 6. So
Right.
was this built with a density of 6? Was it a density of 4 or a density of 10?
Well, 10 and 6 didn't exist when it was built.
Right.
So
And
today, how it matches up is
I
R4.
understand that, but my question is, when it was built, what was the density?
15 units on that ground.
Or is that on 2 acres?
That was on the 2 acres, yes.
Okay, so that would have been an average of 7, which would have been
Equates to our R4
R3.
an R3.
in 1991, yes.
Right, but you didn't lower the density, so the highest density was R3.
At that time.
But it, even in 96, it's still 7 units per acre.
Yes,
So even if it's classified R2, it's still a density of R3, that's my point. So it was not categorized correctly in 2, when it was brought back
Yes.
to R2.
right. Because R2 only allowed single family,
Density of up to 4, according to this.
of single-family units, not multifamily attached.
Why we feel it was simply
An error.
Mapping
an
error.
yeah.
Mapping error.
So
We
it
feel
actually
technically,
exceeds
had we not
3
seen
now.
that, we would have just been saying all along,
Yes.
okay.
It would have continued as that until 2000, and we would have looked at it and analyzed it and said,
Because we have
because we're
created
adding an R4, we would have looked at all
complies with
R3
an
to see
R4.
what needed to be tweaked and changed. The same is true for the property across the street, just as we're speaking, big picture. They're in the same boat. They're now R2, and their density really is R4. Actually, their density is R3. It's
whole R2 thing that makes 0 sense because it's single
Yeah.
family, so.
Yeah.
Not, before you even get to density, it's just single.
Which is the only reason why I can determine that it was just an error on the map that just wasn't caught. Because nothing else makes sense why it would have changed to a single family. I've got no reason to support why the town would have changed that purpose. So,
Who was on the plan?
Tommy?
Tommy? Do you remember Tommy?
Elmer? I know, I'm just kidding, just kidding. Maybe Gary.
Well, I had a hiatus there for about a year or 2.
Yeah, yeah.
Must be the reason.
I wasn't here till 2000, so I don't
It
know.
all went south.
Was the developer named Carr?
Yes. Who, I don't know about the 1963, because I couldn't find the building permit for that, which is actually the site that we're talking about today. But the 2-story units that were built in 94, that you issued the building permit for in R3, that was Carr. Yeah. Muddied the waters or clarified, I hope?
Very much.
Okay, good. Thank you.
We're attempting, what we're trying to do is clarify clear up the hoopla and make it what it really is.
We still wouldn't have known it.
That's what I was getting ready to ask. So this was kind of discovered because thought process he may have going forward and.
Yeah.
Ben?
Hi. Ben Comer, 71 West Marion Street, Danville. On behalf of the petitioner, Dwayne Lane and Patricia Lane. Dwayne's with us tonight. Try not to hash out all the details that we've already discussed. The property is commonly known as 1150 to 1180 Lincoln Street in Danville. 15 units, built in 1963 for multifamily. It has always been used as that. We have also filed some paperwork for a hearing with the Board of Zoning Appeals next week, which the neighborhood has also received copies of. But tonight's discussion is related solely to the zoning and what's the appropriate district for this property. And we think it's clear that R4 is the appropriate district for this property based on its historical use and the adjoining property to the east and south that are in the exact same boat. So that's our petition, a rezoning petition from R2 to R4 for that reason. The staff does recommend approval in their case summary, and we ask for your consideration in giving a positive recommendation to the town council, who will have the final vote. And Dwayne and I are here to answer any questions you have.
What's the big picture here? Wayne, are you gonna tear down the parking garage and put in apartments?
That is exactly what the plan is,
And
yes.
And how many apartments would be there?
Not, in total, it would be one more building, a single story, like it is, of 9 more units, so
Nine.
24 total.
Thought it was only 10 per acre.
It is.
Already 15 there.
That is correct, and that's why we filed an application for the Board of Zoning Appeals. That would give us 3 more units than allowed by ordinance. And that matches the density, to the east and south.
Those would be single story?
They would, right, Dwayne? They're 2-story? They're townhouses, 2 stories.
Part's another day. That part is another day.
Correct.
Does anybody else have any questions? Concerning the zoning? From R2 to R4?
Laura was saying I understand what Mike was getting at, but the current, because R4 didn't exist then, too clearly is proper. Understand what she's saying, R4 is now the fits.
Okay. If you guys don't have any more questions, since this is a public hearing, I'll open it to the public. If you have something you'd like to say, we'd ask if you please come up to the microphone, give your name and address, state what you have to say. Please hold it to zoning, nothing else. That's all we're talking about. If you have other issues, build in there, then you what that means.
Bristow, and I live at 898 Sunset Drive. Gap holding it.
That will not be
right now, it's like an open hole, so it's gonna stay an open hole?
It has to pass the town's engineers.
And then is there a way to divide where their property ends and our property begins with zoning? Because we've had numerous problems with the people behind us. We've got like multiple police reports and stuff with issues with the people in the apartments. So by adding more apartments, that's kind of worrisome to have even 9 more behind you and not have, I mean, there's no fence or divide right now between our property and the apartments besides our chain link fence, and that has not deterred any of the problems that we've had. So is there with zoning a way to divide like apartments and then residential people who actually own their homes and upkeep and pay for them?
Well, we can't actually address that part of it, but it would be addressed before any construction. It has to be. Is that correct?
Like a divide between the two?
Have to put screening in there or something. Is that correct?
The property will have to go through site plan review before any
Yeah.
additional units can be developed. So the site plan will come back to this body for approval.
And so can we see like the plan before it is approved?
It's not a public hearing, but yes, you certainly can come in and see that. Nothing's been submitted now.
Okay. Thank you.
Or would they get notice? Or is that something just diligent check?
Right, because it's not a public hearing for site plan review.
If it comes up, you're gonna have to check planning. On a weekly basis, just don't.
If,
Site plan review would come before this body, the plan commission. Plan commission meets second Monday. Dates are on file. Check with the town when the meeting.
For 8th is the next meeting.
House will be ready by then.
if the BZA approves it, they can put a condition on it that they notify the adjoining neighbors.
Yes, sir.
Jim Turpin, 1026 West Lincoln Street. Not east of all of the apartments, not the adjoining property owner, but the next. And one of the questions I had was, does the changing of the zoning by itself authorize additional units up to the density of 10?
Well, it means they can go up to that. But they'd have to come through their plans and stuff before they did it. Can't just go out there and build them without the proper permits.
There's a couple of concerns about that, and I'll just make it very brief. One is there's a history on Lincoln Street of problems with the sewer, and it's a combination situation. A lot coming in from the apartments, even before the 94 addition was in place. Cotton Clark lived next to me. She's got a manhole, and I saw them retrieve from that manhole tree roots that blocked the apartment's incoming pipe to the point that it was as big as a beach ball. It's bigger than a basketball, and it was just completely blocking that.
You're talking about sanitary sewer or storm sewer?
Sanitary. And the consequence of that was that the apartments felt the pinch of the sewer because everything was backing up. And in the manhole, they didn't have to dig deep for anything. In the manhole by itself there was, over time, enough to completely block that. In my situation, 2 doors down, I've had problems over time. The sewer has backed up. Phone calls are made. First response is, must be your lateral. So I would pull the manhole on Cotton's property, pull the manhole on Kenny Clark's property, on both sides of me. And I would check to see if the water level of the sewer was where it normally was. If it wasn't where it normally was, higher, I would do the second call. It's your problem, not mine. There had been a couple occasions where I had a problem and it was mine, tree roots, those big maples. But the solution eventually got to the point to where things were not moving hardly at all. And they put a camera in Cotton's joining to the apartments and went east. And I think they only got like 75 feet or so. And the tree roots were so thick that you couldn't get the camera through. Solution. Burst the line, pull the sleeve through, reconnect everybody. It's solved. No, it's not. Because past the church, sewer line goes north, and there's, as I have heard, there's a dip that collects grease and blocks off the thing. And it's been repeated since 1986 when I moved here. So to the extent that the density increases by 1 or 2 or 3 or 9, it just adds to the problem. Humans being what they are, there might be grease go in that drain. And as a result, who suffers? Everybody on that line. And the sleeve cost a lot of money. But it still haven't solved the problem. Even after the sleeve, there's been problems. And to put more apartments in there is just to aggravate the situation. Now, I'm sensitive to that. Just to give you background, I'm sensitive to that because when I bought the property in '86, it had wonderful, thick Sears carpet in the basement. It was partially finished. There was an overflow. I had a shower with a 4-inch lip on it, and I could tell when something was going wrong by backup. And for every time we'd catch it, but it did overflow one time. So we had to replace all the carpet. That was the red carpet. I was told that this little grease trap was going to be maintained and we wouldn't have that problem anymore. So the green carpet went in. Well, the green carpet got backed up into. That's when the lawsuit happened in '94. The insurer and I sued the town. There was a settlement. I got my deductible, but it didn't change the grease trap, except more promises about keeping it clean. Aqua, whatever at that time. So any more units, no matter what you zone it, is a concern. In addition, when the new 2 stories went in, there was concern about kids coming on to property next to it, Cotton's at that time, Mrs. Clark. And there was a request that a privacy fence, a solid privacy fence, be put in. And that was not approved. She had all kinds of kids playing in her backyard, aggravated her. I had kids coming up to my fence with sticks, and my dogs are in the back. I don't want to, it's just a couple more minutes. I don't want to have to take my dogs.
You're getting a little off what we're here for tonight.
Telling you the density increase is going to have impacts more than that. Okay. So besides that, one other point is there's no walking area for more people. There's not sidewalks. And I don't have a problem with walkers that are 3 to 5 feet from the road. But in the last 2 years, we've had walkers come within 10 feet of my front door, cutting across. So more people are going to generate more issues.
Larry Ebert, I live 909 Sunset Drive across from Denise Nip. I know we're here just for zoning, but what this gentleman here was talking about is happening frequently. And this lady here just said a little bit ago when she got up that she wasn't sure, she thought there was an error. It sounds to me like she is not sure that there was an error in the zoning. And Mr. Nielsen brought that up real good. He really did. And there's a lot more to Mr. Lane building those apartments than just zoning. If you people would come down and look at the kids walking across our yards, throwing trash in our yards, no respect for other people's lawns. And Mr. Lane knows about this because the police have been called to that area 3 or 4 times. But so far, Mr. Lane has not corrected the problem. And the only thing I'm saying, if he builds more units, he's going to have a bigger problem, and he can't handle the one he's got now. Thank you.
Else? Not, that closes the public hearing. This time, does anybody else have any questions of Laura or Ben or Lane? I know that there is and Barry probably knows this too, the problem with sewer down there. Because I think Penny White's down the road, a real bad problem this year. Same problem.
I would say, though, that the only difference is we're quicker to respond and have more apparatus to work with than we did back then.
Well, that's probably. Anybody else have any questions? If not, I would entertain on this board. We have 3 actions we can take. We can favorable recommendation for the zoning request. Have a favorable recommendation for the zoning request with conditions, or an unfavorable recommendation for the zoning request. Our decision would go then to the town council for final. Entertain a motion.
President, I'll make a motion that we unfavorable recommendation for the zoning.
Okay. Have a motion for an unfavorable recommendation. Do I hear? unfavorable recommendation dies for lack of a second.
Entertain another motion.
Yes, I entertain another motion.
Mr. President, make a motion that we recommend a favorable recommendation for the zoning.
I have a motion for a favorable recommendation for the zoning report. Your second.
I second
We have a motion and a second for a favorable recommendation to the town council. Gary, roll call.
Discussion, question. Zoning ordinance doesn't have R3 anymore,
It does have
Does?
R3.
and I'm wondering if that's more.
Overdense for that.
Pardon?
It's overdense for that now.
True, but I'm wondering if it's more palatable. In my head, I really question the ability to develop this piece of property with proper services. One of them being storm. It's just in the back of my mind. And the sewers, yeah, they do clog up, but that's a problem area that we have to address every month.
Well, they have capacity
No, we're not at capacity, but
in that
it's
area.
Just the infrastructure out there in that area
old
is.
lines, basically. So. But
As far as
but the-
discussion, Gary, as far as discussion, I mean, my thought process is current zoning, he makes I don't think it makes sense to go through this process in zoning category that we have. Proper zoning is
Because of the rest of the properties in and around it?
It's already.
would truly be saying because of the density, it would 7.05 right now. 3 calls for 6. 6, we would be knowingly putting it in a zoning that was fine, I guess.
Forming.
I would argue that it's already non-conforming, so we either have to zone it as an R4, but then that could compound. What does it really meet? It doesn't meet R2 because 15 units, 2 acres, so. Begin with,
They're
correct?
not single family. That's the distinction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's a single-family residence with density, okay.
See what you're, I see.
So, I see what you're saying, but it's almost like saying, well, it's not conforming, so let's go ahead and add more density, so that, let's zone it so that we can add more density.
My opinion is we're putting it in the proper zoning, adding more density, all that at another.
Have a zoning board.
Right. That's my,
understand, but I guess.
it's not just.
We know where it's going. I mean, this is a matter of cleaning up our mistake. But then it allows for the density. So it's hard for me to look at these people and say, we screwed up. 2000. We screwed up, but we're gonna make it right by making it more dense. But then it allows Mr. Lane to build if he wants to build. And he doesn't have to if he doesn't want to. That's something that can come down the road, but it's not already conforming to begin with. So I can't figure it out. Vote. Already been shot down.
Well, just if the zoning is changed, there's no guarantee that any new units will be built. That is not a foregone conclusion.
True.
It has to get through the BZA, and then it has to get through site plan. So there's still 2 more hurdles increasing any of the density. So for
My
whatever.
point is that I completely understand what they're saying. Appreciate it, believe me. I feel like this meeting is based on home property. Their presence and their arguments and their presentation and everything. Even louder.
Good discussion, thank you. Call for the vote.
Okay, roll call vote.
Roll call vote, Mr. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Nielsen?
No.
Thompson? Cook? Sheets? Aye. I will vote aye. Motion carries 5-1.
This will come up before the town council, I don't know when,
Monday's meeting,
next week,
next week.
president of that. So.
Only one vote. Right now, he just canceled me out, so let the other three slug it out.
You cancel me out.
Thank you.
So the BZA is next Tuesday?
Correct, 7 o'clock.
Could I ask one more question while we're all here?
Well, I closed the meeting. If you got a question you want to ask, you can ask it next week.
And next week we'll be ready, even though you'll all be in here next week?
Well, the BZA board will be here, there'll be some of us here. Gary will be here, I'll be here, and Elmer will be here, and they'll be here.
Okay.
We have Board of Zoning Appeals.
Who do I have to see to talk to about what I mentioned about Mr. Lane not being able to handle the people that are there? That who would I have to say about that? That's all I want to know.
You mean about littering, about trespassing?
About littering and things like that.
That's police department.
Police department, go and talk to them about it? Okay.
Oops. Anything else?
Additional report.
Pardon?
We will have a meeting, a regular meeting in October on the 8th.
Really? 3 in a row?
Four cases we heard that night.
Wow.
Um,
Somebody must have found some new money.
One of them is
fast, man.
a site plan that was supposed to be on tonight, but through their engineering and the back and forth that happened, and they didn't get everything reviewed in time in order to be on tonight's agenda. So they're not sure that they want one, but they would like to know if they would be allowed meeting a month.
Where is that located at?
Site plan?
Yeah.
Huh?
Where is it? I don't remember. Who is it? Why do I not remember?
Why-
Let me think, I'll think about it in a minute, but it doesn't matter, really, but they're wanting to know if they could have. And they may not, oh, it's the substation.
The what?
Substation behind, there we go. There's too many site plans going on right now.
What church?
Substation? Wabash Valley Power.
Oh, right, okay.
Wabash Valley Power.
Edwards behind Peddler's
Across the street from south of Los Angeles. By the old county fairground.
Yeah. Well, is there one back there?
Will be.
Oh, they're wanting to put one back there.
basically the power of the hospital or something?
Yeah.
Power of the hospital.
That's a big part of it. So, the question is there a willingness to let them? We really want to try and break ground and get things moving.
Doesn't require a public hearing, does it?
It does not.
Like when? Can I pick a night I don't have volleyball?
As long as we
Still
have
play
a quorum,
volleyball?
it is
No, no,
entirely,
no, I don't.
Doing that?
as long as we have a quorum, it's,
The date?
sort of at the pleasure.
We still need to do it 3 days for,
48 hours.
48 hours, okay.
Look real nice.
The rest of these-
We know it can't be the 17th or 18th, because it's council.
Be the 27th.
Again, this is just a potential.
Who's that? Oh, yeah, down there. They put a big new electric panel in there. Been sitting there, no meter on it.
I think that's it. Any other questions?
What else was on
There's a rezoning for a property. Two PUD amendments. Ben should know, he should prompt me because he's one of them, so.
Bringing you another, it's an easy day.
Okay. Other new rumor. When's, all kinds of Tractor Supply? Start, well, it's not fall yet.
They want to get blacktop down, they need to hustle.
Well, I don't know that they'll have that done. We just actually got the final set of stamps. Friday, did it come
For
out?
them?
yeah.
What about the
How about
development out there next to the gas company?
Yeah, Justice, Ben might know.
They are getting some other approvals, not through the town. Nothing to do with us. Be turning dark in a couple of weeks. You know more than that, Ben, so.
Our last council meeting, there was something. A vacant lot.
It's not dead, it's just maybe changing.
Okay,
Last I
all right.
know,
That's
Nothing
kind of what I thought we were
confirmed.
talking about.
It's well outside of our control.
Any change on that lot?
I don't know anything.
Yes.
Economic developers have to be able to trust the towns, okay? We don't traffic in social media and rumors mongering, so,
Well said.
thank you.
You're welcome.
You need to go down to Burger King more often and
should
hear
do
all the
that.
rumors.
I should go stir the pot.
Or my classroom.
Yeah. Or anywhere on Facebook.
But you know, really, that sewer that they were talking about tonight, you know the problems at Kenny Park. That's been like that for years. Why can't it be?
Some of that is also the property owners replacing their laterals. They don't want to do that. We can respond in a matter of minutes. Take a Vector truck down there or whatever we need, and the guys can clear things up.
Most of them have still got the old clay laterals.
Butt in to butt in.
Include them? Place there.
That, and they can, in the basements, they can put flapper valves.
Those are really
You can still put those in.
enough pressure. Whole floor. If it was deep enough. I mean, you know.
They want to put the gray water down in the basement, they want to put all their bathroom stuff down in the basement. Hey, going against the flow.
You've not called for adjournment yet?
Huh?
You have not called